Hello, everyone. Welcome to our bonus Wimbledon episodes. We are coming to you at the end of every round of Wimbledon, this fun Grand Slam that we're going through. There is a lot to talk about. Round one is over. Welcome, ground passers, and welcome to our special guest. Nick was at Wimbledon today, so he's not able to join me tonight because he's still in London and he's with his mom. So we're just going to let him have his personal time and do that. But I'm joined by the one and only Ian Modul of 40 Love. How long has it been, Ian? It's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah, I know. I feel cheated on. You've had other people on to talk about tennis fashion that aren't me. No, it's been a bit, but I'm happy to be back. And honestly, I don't think we could have planned this any better with the chaotic first round that we had at Wimbledon. There's definitely no shortage of things to talk about. So.
I mean, here's hoping we can keep this to a reasonable time, but I've already prepped all of our listeners. It's been chaotic in round one. So we're just going to go for it. And hopefully we won't create a 3-hour long episode. But I love that you're here too, because specifically for Wimbledon, I didn't think there'd be any fashion stuff to talk about. It's Wimbledon. They all wear white. Like, what could we possibly chat about? There is a lot to talk about as well in that section. So what are we hitting on today? I mean, in general, what these episodes are, I kind of call them our TLDW, too long didn't watch. So we're here to break it all down for you, what you missed. And if you really missed anything, have you been online lately? Because Wimbledon has been chaotic, but we're going to get to all of the upsets, all of the matches, all of the fashion of round one. And there has been a lot of it. So stay tuned. Okay, so it's really funny that the theme, I think, of round one of Wimbledon is upsets, because that was the exact same thing in Roland Garros. Like, remember Roland Garros, like first round, he was like,
yeah,
where did Fritz go? Where did Medvedev go? Where did Kostyuk go? And I feel like we're repeating it, but to the next level.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that. I had the same thought, and I know it was only 3-4 weeks ago, but I couldn't remember the start to Roland Garros. But I had this feeling of deja vu today, where I was just like, wait, we've been here before. Why is there so much instability in these early rounds? I think for a while it's been, the draws come out, and I think people make a bigger deal about the draws. I just think the talent pool of players has just gotten so much better that you get these really incredible first round matches. And it's usually two players that I don't want to see have to eliminate one or the other. You want the best for both of them. I wouldn't say that's the case for this tournament. There weren't too many matchups where I was like, oh, why does this person have to play this person this round? It was just carnage today. Today, carnage yesterday. And here we are again. Yeah, we're through round one, and you're kind of, now I was thinking about it with Roland Garros. You had this little bit of a lull for a couple rounds because round one was so rough, or round two was so rough. You had a little bit of a lull before the big seeded players started to meet again. So we kind of have the same thing happening here.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen again. And just to check in, because I posted on the first day how I watch round one of Grand Slams, because it's a lot. It's a lot of matches to get through in 2 days that it's almost impossible to catch everything. You're gonna miss something. But I do the whole ESPN multi-screen boxes on my Apple TV. Do you do the same?
Yeah, I mean, we were laughing a little just before hopping on the podcast. I feel like it definitely contributes to my ADHD. There's just so much happening at once. And I don't even know if it's effective. Putting 4 matches on the screen, I don't know that I really watch any of them that intently, and I usually focus in on one anyways. But I do the same thing because there's just so many things to watch.
Yeah, I picked the one because obviously it's 4 matches on a screen, but you obviously are not getting all of the sound from it because that would be crazy, and we're crazy enough. But what I do is the match I want to focus on, that's where I put the sound on, and then everything else I just glance at it from time to time. I do want to say though, because I had not realized that this is a feature of the Apple TV. Do you have an Apple TV as well, or no?
Yeah. Wait, yeah. That's just because of Apple TV?
I did not realize this, because a lot of people online, I posted my thing. I was like, oh my goodness, show me your setup. And I got a lot of questions of people asking me, wait, how do I get to the 4 screen thing? And I was like, I don't know, it's this button here. And then you just do that. Yeah. And a lot of people was like, oh, I don't see that on my Roku, or I don't see that on my Google TV, or like all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I had no idea that this was an Apple TV thing. So if you're listening to this and you can get the multi-screen without Apple TV, please let us know, send us a message and stuff, because I want to like let people know. I've only had the Apple TV, and that's how I get it.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't realize that. I guess we take that for granted. But yeah, I have Apple TV. Early rounds, you do this, maybe as the rounds get like later on, you really want to experience the match and kind of, feel like you're in it. So you do a little bit more switching back and forth. But these early rounds, yeah, I mean, there's no great way to do it. We've talked about this before. I work in tennis, so I'm following this and I'm covering it for work too. So like I've definitely sometimes had the TV up, the laptop on my lap, and the phone in my hand, and I'm like talking to people on my phone, and I've got something happening on my computer, and then I've got multiple matches happening on my TV. And any like normal person, if they would walk into my living room during that situation, would be like, okay, this guy is absolutely insane.
It's a little bit of, the beautiful mind situation that we've got going. If anyone can help us streamline this, or like help us a bit to focus, please send us a message as well, because that would be helpful. But let's get into the chaos, because it was absolute carnage, as we've been saying. Someone sent us a message, like a reply to one of our posts on Threads, Kate, who follows us on Threads. Hi, Kate. But Kate goes, grass is glass, it shatters egos. And I think it's like it's the best way to explain what round one has been like. But it was absolute chaos to start. It's funny because when I first sat down to watch round one, grab my cup of coffee, I started with the Svitolina match. And Svitolina, on day one, ran through her match. Like, she was the seed. It was beautiful. Like, it was straight sets, no problems. So that's what was my first entry into Wimbledon. And it all went downhill from there. What was your first match of Wimbledon? Do you remember?
Oh man, what was the first match that I watched? I'm gonna have to look, but I do want to shout out that poem that Kate wrote is great. I think that's kind of what makes Wimbledon so unique and so special, is the grass does kind of act as like an equalizer.
Yeah.
There's very few grass court specialists anymore. I think you've seen on the women's side, over the last few years, just the, I don't want to say randomness, because there's been some really incredible performances like Vondrousova and Krejcikova, but those were unexpected, right? Like those were people that, nobody expected to have in the finals, let alone win them. Jess Pegula, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, she said that going into this tournament, that it felt like the most open it's ever been, because you have the women at the top of the game who don't have success on grass yet. And you just look at the history of how the last few years have gone, and there's just so few grass specialists that, these great top players of the game right now who aren't even making it through round one. And that's not going to be the case on every other surface. That right. Doesn't happen on clay, or it doesn't happen on hard courts. So first match that I watched, let's see, I flew back Sunday night from a work event, and I got in at 2 a.m. and I thought to myself, well, matches start at 3 a.m.
Might as well
Should
stay
I just
up.
do this? I was like, no, I can't do that to myself. But the thought did cross my mind, so I do want to put that out there. There was a few matches that I really would have loved to stay up to see, but I couldn't do it. So for me, you're on the East Coast, matches start a little bit earlier. For me, I'm probably, a lot of the first matches are ending. And I think, what did I turn on first on Monday? I think I might have woke up and I started watching Fonseca Fernley, because I think Fernley's a unique story, TCU college player. I follow a lot of college tennis, and he's had a great rise over the last year. And then Fonseca is, hyped up as if he is the next Alcaraz, and by all means, he deserves the hype. So that was the one that I was most excited to see, was how was Fonseca going to deal with playing against a local kid who is going to have support, where Fonseca is used to having his, loud, boisterous Brazilian crowd. So I wanted to see how that was going to go. That was the first one that I turned into. It didn't turn out to be that amazing of a match, but I also had Fognini and Alcaraz on, which in my mind,
I'm getting into it.
Right. Like this is where we start, right? This is where, imagine my reaction waking up and seeing that Fognini won a set, first of all. I was like, what is, but I didn't think anything of it. I said, okay, Alcaraz will get under control. Yeah, I mean, that was off the rails. So that
Yeah.
was my waking up. I was like, what is going on? Yeah, anyways, I'll let you hop in here because, yeah, Alcaraz Fonini, what was that?
What was that? But I think with my sort of how I was running through the day, I watched this Svitolina match, which was at the same time as Derek Kazakina. And it was, I started so chill and with these beautiful kits, which we're going to get into. I tell you, we're going to get into it. And it was super chill. And then all of a sudden, here is Sonia Cartel defeating Ostapenko. So that was my intro into Wimbledon. I didn't get into the Carlos Alcaraz match because personally, there's just so much going on in round one. And Carlos Alcaraz playing Fabio Fognini, it's his last Wimbledon. He's supposed to be retiring this year. I was like, you know what? I'm going to catch the highlights. It's going to be fine. So I go through my day and I'm watching Ostapenko. Medvedev is in trouble. Tsitsipas is laying on his stomach getting back massages. It is all going off. And I think, oh, wait, how's that Carlos Alcaraz match doing? They should be on to the second match, right? On center at this point, because I'm thinking that match is over. And what's the next match on center? They're in the second set. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on? And then that's when I started tuning in there. But before we get into the Medvedev and Tsitsipas, like, what in the sort of I pod sometimes with Mitch Michaels, hi Mitch of the Tennis Channel, and we text each other back and forth, and we call Alcaraz our little drummer boy because he
Mm.
just he loses focus and he just goes drumming away to the other side of town, and you're like, come back, focus in. But how much of that match did you watch? Because I was completely in and out of it, not really expecting it to go that way. So I wasn't paying attention to it.
Yeah, and if you woke up and you started watching and you thought, well, that's not what I need to tune into, you're probably right. You're probably right to think that way because there's no reason why you would think that that would have turned into the 5 set match that it did. So I had it on and I was toggling between that and other matches. I mean, I thought that Alcaraz was kind of over this, yips that he gets against players that he should be beating. I think the way that he played in Roland Garros, and the way he's been playing over the grass court season, he just seemed like to me he'd gotten past that. And you're calling him the little drummer boy because he can be a little all over the place sometimes. And yeah, I thought he was past that. And obviously not. I mean, to Fanini, I read a quote from him that he said when he got to the locker room that he cried because he didn't think that he was
Aw.
capable of putting on a 5 set match against the, second best or best player in the entire world at his age. So credit to Fanini, and he deserves the credit for that match. But Alcaraz also just looked like a mess. He looked like the Alcaraz that we've seen pop up from time to time where you're like, come on, man, let's put it together here. Like you might have a higher ceiling than Yannick Sinner, but a lot of people would think that you may be considered the greatest, the best player in tennis right now. But yeah, he finds these performances where you're like, what is going? The serve's not there, firing shots long, and it can't find his touch on his ground strokes, and you're just like, what am I? Why is this sloppy? It's not fun to watch. So when I was kind of
Yeah.
in and out of it, every time I would tune in, I was just like, not loving what I was watching. And then he just kind of throws away that fourth set because it got away from him. It was just weird. It was a very, very weird. It wasn't the best match of the day, that's for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, on Ground Pass, we get a lot of like new fans to the sport who are just trying to learn it and stuff. And I can just imagine if you're coming from like the French Open, Roland Garros, and you see this kid and this epic 5 set match and he wins, and you heard that this is his fifth Grand Slam. Like he's been doing this for a while. He goes to Queens. He wins the tournament. You're excited. You're getting in there. And I just want to tell you, slow your roll. If you're out here trying to be a Carlos Alcaraz fan, you have to be in it for the good times and the very bad times because he has no middle. There is no sort of like run of the mill, I'm just going to play a straight up and down match. Everything's hunky dory. You have to be here for all the emotions, all of the highs. But I also think that's what makes him such an exciting player because he plays with a lot of feeling. And I think he talked about in press that he was super nervous, that
Yeah.
he thought, I'm defending champion. I'm two-time defending
Yeah.
champion. I know that I have to open center court on Monday. This is not new, but he still says he gets nervous. And as someone like him who plays with emotions, is still super young, I think we also just tend to forget that. He's still young. And unlike someone like Sinner, who I think matured very early, yes, Sinner is like a year or two older or something like that. But I think Sinner in general is a little bit more mature. Carlos is younger, plays more with feeling, has a lot of feelings. And that is why we went to a 5 set with Fabio Fognini. And, again, if you're new to the sport, you're like, who's that? Fabio Fognini has not won a match since last October.
I heard that. Yeah.
And he took he took Carlos Alcaraz to 5 sets.
Yeah.
Almost won.
Yeah.
Carlos. Baby boy, drummer boy. Let's bring it in. But again, I think that will come with age and with time. So that was definitely a close scare. And I don't know about you and how you feel about these tournaments. There's some players that I feel like you could tell the crowd was afraid. They were like, oh my God, what if this upset happens in round one? What are we going to do for 2 weeks? And I think Carlos Alcaraz is that sort of player who brings the vibes. So there was a big chance of the vibes going out early, and thankfully he was able to get through. But let's talk about, that was just one, that was like an eighth of the things that happened on day one. Medvedev, Tsitsipas.
Yeah. I mean, you can put them together in one category because I saw a post that was about their Grand Slam results this year. And Tsitsipas, I believe, has been knocked out of the first round of now 3 tournaments. And I know he left Wimbledon because of an injury, retirement, but out in round one. And I think Medvedev is round one, round two, round two. And it is just weird. It is weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's weird watching Grand Slams without the two of them in it. Say what you want about both of them, if everybody has their opinion about one or the other, whatever. It's just weird not having them there at least through a few rounds. So I mean, so weird. It's the right move to put them together because it's puzzling.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into our round two stuff a little bit, but I kind of want to bring Zverev into this now because in May, I think Zverev lost in Rome. And I have been thinking for over a year now that these 3 players, I've sort of equated them to the Lost Boys. Mm-hmm. It's not the movie Lost Boys, but that's just the phrasing that I came to, and I've been calling them the Lost Boys. And we have this thing called Match Stories on Ground Pass where I just like talk about interesting matches and like what they mean in general for the sport. And this concept of these boys that are lost, that they were coming up kind of like towards the end of the big 3. Gen, the tournament was starting.
They came up towards the end of what we thought was going to be the end of the big 3.
Exactly.
And then they went on for 5 or 6 more years.
Exactly. But it was Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev. They were going to be multiple Grand Slam winners. That was the consensus. It was not controversial to say. That was it. And to come 5, 6, 7 years later, and only Medvedev won. And now there are these 2 other boys who are here. One has won 2. Sinners has 2 now, right? Am I right? Or 3? No, 2. No, 3. He has 3.
3, yeah.
Sinner has 3 Grand Slams. Alcaraz has 5. Medvedev has 1. And then the other 2, none. And it looks like they're regressing.
Yeah.
Is this it? That's it? That's the Lost Boys. They're lost, and that's it.
You could. There's probably a few other names that you can kind of toss in there too that kind of were making a name for themselves around the same time. I mean, Shapo, Felix, players that were thought to be kind of the next gen. That was when we first started to hear the term the next gen before the next gen showed up and kind of ruined all their hopes and dreams. Yeah, I think in Tsitsipas's case, it's definitely regression. I mean, he's openly saying if he doesn't start to see results that he would retire. I feel like you're hearing that from a lot of players lately. I don't know what that's about, but I think in Tsitsipas's case, he's definitely regressed. I think Zverev has maintained an extremely high level. He's just, I said this today on my Instagram, he just plays not to lose. He doesn't have that dog, like, killer mentality that the best players seem to have. And it's not to say that he doesn't have the motivation or he's not hungry for it. He becomes a pusher in some of these matches. And I was talking to a few people during that match today. I wouldn't say Zverev has regressed, but he just hasn't found that next level in his game in order to get to get to the promised land here. And I think the best chance he had was probably against Nadal when he, rolled his ankle in the French Open and had to leave the court there. Medvedev's had better success than the two of them, but his game isn't as sustainable. I mean, you just look at his funky form and all of that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he hated clay, and then he had his best clay court season, and he's not a grass court player. He's a hard court player. He's a hard court player. I don't think he's ever winning French Open or ever winning Wimbledon, but he's had his ups and downs over his career. He hasn't maintained the same level of consistency as Zverev. The three of them both have been pretty consistent in at least being quarterfinalists, in the past, or semifinalists. But they're not those people now because you have a new generation of players. And I just think a better field of players. You have players in the first round that have upset top 10 players before. It's not uncommon to see players and seeing the statistics, pop up on the ticker that this is their second top 10 win or something. And then maybe you never hear from that player again. That happens. In fact, Medvedev said to Bonzi, why don't you always play like this? You'd be rich, like you hear these players' names, they pop up, they get this one, win, this career making win, and then you don't hear from them again. So I do think it's just the field of players is just really strong now. And these three players just don't have that extra gear. They just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said about tennis, I'm always fascinated by people who bet on tennis because it is the most complex sport. I truly believe, especially now, anyone can beat anybody. A lot of times the field is very deep. There are a lot of great players out there. Everyone has to be on point to win in this sport. And then there are all the surfaces are so different. Like we said in the beginning, grass is not forgiving. It's not an easy surface to just like pick up and go. So add that to everything else. I guess we shouldn't be so surprised that this is happening at Wimbledon. It's just a lot. And another name that fell on day one, former member of the baby big three, Runer. Runer's out.
Yeah, that was another one that was on really early for me. That one doesn't really come as a surprise because he's not a great grass court player. But yeah, to lose in the fashion that he did there, I believe he was up 2-0 to love, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And Nico Jari's a very good player, was just last year or within the last couple of years a seeded player at these Grand Slams, making him to the top 30 in the world. He just had a bad stroke of luck with some injuries and some poor performances, but he's a big server. The grass favors that. I don't take him as the type of player that I thought would come back from 2 sets down, but yeah, Runa's, you probably throw him in the same category there. Flash in the pan, Masters 1000 winner, former or current top, I can't remember where he's ranked right now, but he's been in the top 10 pretty consistently, just doesn't have that extra gear.
Yeah, I think he was the 8th seed.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, so those were I think the biggest upsets of day one. I think along with Carlos Alcaraz, some players that battled through were Madison Keys. That was I don't know if you watched that match, but that was such a topsy-turvy match. She was playing Roos, who is someone she has, I think actually they played at the Australian Open and actually went to 3 sets as well and was very similar. I think, players, they have these sort of kind of difficult matchups that they have. And maybe that is something for Madison. But then Roos as well was going through it. It seemed like she was sick. She had a medical timeout. And then she had this almost at least lower body cramps. Like her legs were shaking involuntarily a few times. Like it was a lot, but it still got pushed. And Madison had to battle through that. And then same with Jasmine Paolini, another person who had to battle through day one. We could have lost more seeds.
Yeah, that was, the other ones that I'd like to shout out to, I didn't get to watch the Keys match, but obviously you look at the score line there and it looked like it was a close match. I didn't see much about that one though. Bolter Badosa, I was able to watch. That was a good one. Sad for Badosa because she has found herself really highly seeded again. She has found her game after just riddled with injuries. And it really, really sucks to see her so down sometimes and hear some of the quotes about how she feels about her back issues and everything that she's been going through. But Bolter's good. That was a great match on paper before it even started. That was one that I kind of had circled. Bolter playing in front of a home crowd, and just two really, really great players. That was a tough match. That was another upset. And then the other one was the other one from day one that I had was Vondrousova and Kessler. McCartney Kessler is great. I really
like McCarthy Kessler.
Yeah, I thought that she could do some damage in this tournament. She's like due for a tournament where she's been kind of flying under the radar with American tennis, but she's been really consistent. But again, tough draw getting Vondrousova, who, yes, she's like kind of dropped in form, but she was the Wimbledon champion 2 years ago. This is a surface that she found the peak of her game at, and Vondrousova pulls through in that one. And one thing to point out about that too, like I posted this on Instagram, I actually looked at the last 2 weeks of grass court events. And there are 16 total champions, 16 total finalists. That's including the champions. And the reason that Vondrousova Kessler was interesting was because both of them had won just 2 weeks ago. They had just won a title on grass. Kessler won in Nottingham and Vondrousova won in Berlin. So to meet each other after the success that they had in grass, you knew that was going to be a good match. And fun fact about this, I was talking to a few people. Of the 16 finalists of the last 7 grass court events that have happened over the last 2 weeks, we watched 7 of them get eliminated in round 1. So for all of the talk of who's carrying momentum, who had a good grass court season, Taylor Fritz, he was the champion in Eastbourne, like all these, you look at those trends and you look at, Bublik's doing well. And again, these are names that we'll talk about for today and people that we saw playing today. 18 finalists in the last 2 weeks on grass, 7 of them didn't make it through one round of Wimbledon. That is, I don't know where that ranks historically, but that to me is extremely uncharacteristic. And I don't know if that's a sign of the heat from the last 2 days, fatigue, because these are players that have made it deep. But I don't know, it's a little myth busting to me of like carrying momentum or have, great grass season. 7 got knocked out.
Yeah, no, that is a really great point, and it's definitely something to talk about. And before we actually go into sort of the curfew of it all, because I totally want to talk about that, but I actually had questions about the heat, because I think midway through day one, it was getting weird. Like, it was getting weird. I was like, what is going on? And I haven't been in London recently. So I was kind of just trying to get a sense of, is this New York at the US Open in August hot? Or is this just some sort of European hot? Because those are two different things. And I couldn't really get a handle on it. I talked to a friend who is a New Yorker, but lived in London actually for the past 2 years. And I was like, how hot is it? Like, is this why we're getting all of these upsets? Like, is it truly heat related? And she definitely said it was hot. It's not New York in August hot, but for Europe and for London, it was definitely hot and humid. And the only other thing I could think of was, well, you know what? These players have been playing, they were in Bad Homburg in Berlin, and they're in London and, playing Queens and all of these things. So they've been there for a while, and maybe their body is just acclimated to that sort of European temperate summer where it's not too hot. And then this sudden heat wave got a lot of them. Maybe?
Maybe. I don't know if you've ever played on grass, but I can't really say that I've played on grass for like 15 minutes. So like take this with a grain of salt. But you always see the temperature check of the surfaces of tennis courts, and on grass court it is a lower temperature than playing on a hard court or on a clay court. So I thought that it'd make it a little bit more manageable to have the hot heat, but having it on grass. I don't know. I've also heard some people say that like Europeans and people in the United Kingdom just like can't tolerate heat because they're just not used to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe somebody who's listening can let us know. Are people from the UK just like they can't deal with the heat like we can? I'm in California and I'm used to like 90 degrees every single day. So
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it was. They set records for day one, so that's worth mentioning. Day one, hottest records at Wimbledon ever for the first day of the tournament.
Yeah.
So, that's not nothing, of course, that's going to affect how the day goes.
Right. I just saw a lot of ice packs. I was like, I guess it's real hot then,
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned Fritz, and we should get into that now. But something that happened at the end of the day of day one that definitely affected day two, and basically went into day two was because of Carlos. We can all blame Carlos Alcaraz for this, by the way. Like,
Yeah,
it all
totally.
stems from
100%.
him.
Yep.
But he plays a 4.5 hour match, the very first match on center, that obviously just decimates the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So Fritz and Giovanni Pesci-Pericard had to move their match. They start playing and all that stuff. And, I think this was always going to be a tough match for Taylor Fritz. Giovanni Pesci-Pericard set the record of the fastest serve ever to be hit at Wimbledon during this match. He's a massive server. He's a big guy. Like, he is, it's a lot to deal with. And he goes, 2-0 up. And we're thinking, oh no, another seed's about to go. Taylor then fights back, wins the next 2 sets. And I'm at this point, because my flow throughout, yesterday was I was chill and I was like, oh, it's the start of a Grand Slam. And then I slowly just tipped down. I was like, what is happening? This is too chaotic for me. And, I can't deal with this on day one. And Taylor brought the life back. I was like, oh, this is exciting. It was a great match. And then it ends. Why does it end, Ian? Why does it end?
Yeah, it's great that we ended on this, because it is the perfect segue to day two, because it ended up spanning over 2 days in order for them to finish it. First of all, if I'm Pesci-Pericard, I'm getting 153 tattooed on my shoulder or something, or whatever the kilometers is. I'm getting that tattooed, because he lost the point though. So
yeah,
shout out Fritz. Yeah, this was always one that was going to be tough. And when Fritz went down 2-0 and never a break point opportunity, you thought, well, that's it.
That's it.
What are you going to do? They're playing on grass, which is already favors the big serve, and Fritz is fantastic on grass. I saw a stat from Ben Rothenberg I think it was through 2 sets, that he had 33 winners and 5 unforced errors, but was down 2-0. I mean, that's playing nearly perfect tennis and it not mattering, because if you don't get the breakpoint opportunities, you can't win a tennis match. And a lot of the times when you play these big servers, it comes down to the tiebreak, because then you don't need a full game. And this is great for anybody listening who isn't an avid tennis player and just really getting into watching it professionally, is you need 4 points minimum in order to break somebody's serve. When somebody's bombing 153 miles per hour at you, you could barely get the ball back. And if you do get it back, you're usually giving them a soft ball that they can put away. How are you going to break them? When you're exchanging service games and you win your service game and they win theirs, you're just sprinting, or in this case, crawling towards a 6-6 tiebreak. And when you get to a tiebreak, you just need one. You just need one mini break. You need to win 1 point off of their serve. So through the first 2 sets, and the tiebreaks went long too. I think it was 8-6, 10-8, I believe. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. When it goes to the third set, I'm thinking this is over, right? Fritz can't even get a breakpoint opportunity, but this is one of the best versions of Fritz I think I've ever seen. And he is not the most exciting watch. I mean, sorry, Taylor, love you to death, SoCal guy. But when he is fired up like this and he is coming back and he's looking at his box and he is slamming his chest and yelling, I'm like, yes, this is the energy that I like to see in a tennis match. So to see him storm back the way, I'm sorry to rant, but this was the one match that I think I was the most enthralled by. He goes up in the second set, right? The second set tiebreak.
Second set tiebreak, yeah.
Yeah. You can finish my thought there if you wanted.
Well, he goes up in the second set tiebreak, and you're thinking, okay, great, he's going to close it out.
Yep.
No.
6-2.
No.
He was Yeah.
And it ended up being 10-8 to Giovanni Pesci-Pericard.
Mm-hmm.
So both first 2 sets go to tiebreaks. The first one is 8-6. The second one is 10-8. And you're thinking, like you said, ain't no way. That's it. What are you going to do? You're not able to break him. But like you said, a fired up Taylor Fritz, a.k.a. Morgan's boyfriend, is so enthralling to watch, because usually you're just it's Taylor. He's tall. He serves. It's okay. But he got fired up and he was able in the third to finally get that break.
Yeah.
And that's how he won the third. And then it was, again, he had the momentum. So now he's going into the third set, the fourth set. The fourth set gets to a tiebreak. It's, ends in a 8-6. He wins it. And you're thinking, okay, great.
But before we get to that,
yes,
we had the reverse happen of set 2, where
Yes, that is
and
true.
Pesci Pericard is up 5-1, and you're like, this is over. And Fritz storms back to win that tiebreak. So yeah, that brings us to the start of what was supposed to be the start of set 5, which is there's 45 minutes left until the curfew in Wimbledon, which for everybody listening is 11 p.m. local time. And the chair umpire, Fritz, is pumping, slamming his chest, yelling, expletives, and like he's so stoked to have forced it to a fifth set. And the chair umpire, you see him crawling down the ladder, and you're like, oh, God, no. And the commentators are saying, okay, well, they're going to have a discussion here with the two players on whether to play the fifth set, because at that point, each set was going pretty long. I think they were still getting them done in close to 40 to 45 minutes. So there's 45 minutes left, and they have a decision to make. They have to decide if they think that they can finish this set before the curfew or risk starting it and being a game or two away, or even a point. I don't know. They call it right at 11. So if they got to 6-all, 6-5, 5-all, then you have to call it at 11 o'clock and come back tomorrow and play one game or 1 point or whatever, which is not great. And they asked the two players, and Fritz is clearly, he wants to keep going. He's fired up. He's got the momentum. I mean, for all we know, that set could have just gone lopsided for Fritz because of the way he was playing. And if you're Pesci Pericard, you're like, no, let's come back tomorrow because I want to kill this vibe. And they ultimately made the call to postpone the match the next day. And you hear the mic pick up Taylor Fritz. He goes, then why the hell are you even asking me? Clearly they had made up their mind that they were going to call the match with 45 minutes, which is a lot of time to play a set. Fans booing, not happy. They paid a ticket to be there. Yeah, it's a bummer.
It was a bummer. And for me, if we're just to take the Wimbledon curfew in isolation, I understand. I get it. It is in a residential neighborhood. It's 11 p.m. As much as I love the the US Open vibes, where it's kind of like, remember that year Carlos won? He was like ending matches at 2:30 in the morning every day. But do you want to be playing tennis at like 3 a.m.? Not really. It's not sustainable. So I get it. But my main thing about this was I felt there was enough time. So the longest set that they had played was 50 minutes. So you're thinking, let's just say this is another longest set. So you're going to go 5 minutes past the curfew? I just think, and yes, who's to say that could have happened? Maybe their next, because we have had sets in tennis be over an hour, well over an hour. What if it went well over an hour? It's a really tough judgment call, but I always think back to 2023 when Andy Murray was playing Stefanos Tsitsipas and it was getting close. Andy won the first set, Stefanos won the second set, and then Andy wins the third. He has the momentum. You could feel it. You could feel the energy. Like you just knew he just needed one more set and he was going to take it. And they stop it because of the curfew. What happens? Comes back the next day, loses the next 2 sets, he's out of the tournament. That was one of Andy's last years. What if he could have made a deep run if he had just stayed in the moment of that tennis match versus chopping it up? And we can now flow into this to day 2 if we want to look at Zverev's match, for example. Because the way Zverev's match, he was playing against Arthur Rinderknecht, they did 2 sets yesterday and then 3 sets today. And I was listening to a commentator say, for Rinderknecht, this was a whole just different match. It was a best of 3 that he was playing today. Forget yesterday. So it's almost a reset. I don't know how I feel about something like a curfew affecting the results of matches. It's a tough one. It's a very tough one. And I totally get it because I do understand we don't want tennis to be played at 2 a.m. And I do know as well Wimbledon has this issue with the residents and not playing late or whatever. But at the same time, I'm thinking, wait a second, match play starts at 11 a.m. everywhere else. But on court 1, it starts at 1 p.m. And then on court 2, it starts at 1:30 p.m. Yeah. Why not start it earlier? At noon, maybe.
100%. Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know what you think about that, but I definitely, let's just say if Fritz had come back today and lost the match, we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I agree with everything you had to say. I mean, this is just another example of tennis and the scheduling just kind of shooting itself in the foot. Like it doesn't seem like it should be that hard to figure out. Start matches earlier, have a rule in place that allows you to go past 11. up to a certain point, right? Maybe like they're in the fifth set, right? And
Yeah.
you know that we're not going to have a 2 hour long set. That would be insane. So yeah, it sucks. Happy for Fritz. Yeah. Happy for
Yeah.
Fritz. And happy
Yeah.
for Rinderknecht too. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, it ended well in both cases, so it's all good. Really quick, going through to today, I think there are definitely some players like Iga, Shelton, Sinner. They had easy runs today. Like, it was the normal first round, story. But then we lost Musetti,
mm-hmm.
who I think is maybe not as controversial a first round loss because he has been out of it. He was injured. He didn't play Queens to defend all his points. So maybe not too surprising. But then we lost Bublik.
It's so funny that, so Bublik has always just kind of been this, anomaly in tennis, this clown who he's so much talent, but just kind of, people sometimes compare him to Kyrgios and all that. To me, he's such a goofball, and I've never really taken him seriously. And it was really nice to see him play, had such a good grass court season, and talk about, he was very candid about talking about how he's thought about retiring because of, his inability to win have more success and win some titles. And then he had, great grass court run. I had people messaging me saying, like, why aren't we talking about Bublik as a potential Wimbledon winner, or like, at least upsetting somebody that we think would win? But he ends up going out in the first round. So there goes that. Yeah. Musetti, he's been, I think he's been probably top 10, maybe even top 5 player over the last few months. So to me, that one's really surprising. I think he was semifinals last year here.
Yeah.
Lot of points, losing a lot of points. Yeah.
And he already lost because he was a finalist in Queens, and he already lost those points because he didn't, play. I haven't looked at what the live rankings are right now, but
yeah, that sucks.
I'm guessing it might not be top 10 Musetti anymore, which is a shame because he's a great, great player. So hopefully, he'll, sort of recover. I think he is pretty much recovered, and he just didn't have any matches on grass, maybe. So that's a, factor. And he will probably come to the States. It's hard court swing next. So hopefully he'll come over here and do well. Kind of flowing now into what it is that Ian, we love to talk about. Starting with the last upset I want to talk about, but we lost Jessica Pegula. Today, the number 3 seed on the women's side. And oh my goodness, I just also saw we lost Coco Gauff.
And Coco, I was like, you can put those two together as like, these are not only the top of the American game, but 2 favorites to win. Yeah, it sucks. It's so bad. Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot. What a day.
That's what I mean. Yeah, there's just, I think I have to go through the bracket again and be like, okay, so who am I cheering for now? Because so many players that you expected to see quarterfinals, semifinals, potential winners are out right now. Both of those hurt so bad. I love both of them.
Yeah, and Pegula is so great, and she won a title coming into this, but I cannot explain to you because she was the first match that I had on today. It was the first match I had on, and I cannot explain how fast that happened and how well Elisabetta Cocciaretto, who beat her, played. Like, Cocciaretto played like top 10. Like, she was so focused. It was moving so fast that I almost think Pegula didn't have time to think, like, what's happening. There was no time because it was over in an hour less. Like, let me even look because I have it up here, and I think that match, let me see.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me because I missed this one. It happened so fast. I just saw that she was out, or I heard it on the broadcast, and I went, wait, I'm sorry, what? Did I just hear what I thought? And I had to look it up.
50.
Ouch. No, Jess.
Like, that is how fast that happened. Like, it was so in and out. And I can't even say, oh, well, Jess was playing really bad. And, no. I think she was playing her game and she was playing as well as possible. But Cocciaretto took it to another level and really came out laser focused. And it was over before you even knew it. And then, so I start the day that way. And how do I end it? With Coco Gauff losing.
Yeah, you're bookending your day with heartbreaks, and then you wonder why none of us are mentally well watching tennis. It's so bad.
It's so bad. And, Full disclosure, Nick and I called that one. We called the Coco Gauff Diana Yastremska match upset alert immediately. We started this thing on our TikTok, and we do it on Instagram as well, but we call it tennis lessons. So we do like little things where, we'll explain scoring, or we'll do, funny enough, just before Wimbledon, we had a tennis lesson on seeding. Funny how that works.
Well, it doesn't matter now.
Doesn't matter. But we had one on the very first tennis lesson we did was on scoring, explaining how scoring works and how tie breaks and all of that stuff worked. And the match that we used to break down that lesson was Coco Gauff versus Diana Yastremska at the Madrid Open, which went 3 sets, really tough, and Coco Gauff barely made it through. So coming into this, we were like, that's a tough matchup for her, but we thought it would be on upset alert, but kind of thought Coco would figure it out.
Yeah, it was more like, the audience, tune in. This might be a better match than you think, and straight sets. Yeah.
Straight sets. Like, again, another player who Yastremska was so focused, laser focused. And her team, I think she tried to serve out that first set. I think it was at 5-3. She was serving for it. And then, of course, nerves took over. So then it went to a tiebreak, but then she won the tiebreak and then just cruised. It was 6-1 in the second. But her team were like hyping her up and, you can do it. You can take her. Like, it was a lot. But you can tell, like, probably they had experienced what happened in Madrid. Because in Madrid, for example, the first set was 6-love. It was a bagel. She bageled Coco Gauff in the first set. So I think they definitely thought they had a chance and they were not going to let it go this time. So it was a shame, but hats off to Diana Yastremska. She's a big, powerful hitter and plays well, and a player from Ukraine. And I always root for them because they're going through it just personally as well. So tough loss for the tournament, and yeah. But good for Diana Yastremska.
Yeah, in fact, when we get off the podcast later today, I'm going to have to go. I'm not joking. I'm going to have to go back through the draw and be like, okay, who am I rooting for now? Like, I always have kind of in my head, these are my players. These are the ones I'm always supporting. So many got knocked out. I think I'm going to be going through and not just looking at round 2 and the matches that I'm excited to watch, but who's left? Like, who do I want to cheer for? Who do I think's got the best chance? Who's quarter of the bracket opened up so much that you can see, I don't know, I'm just throw a name out there, see a Tommy Paul making a semifinal or something, like who, I can't wait to look through it again because I haven't had the time to do it, but so many players got knocked out. It's going to be wide open on both sides.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should take a break from the seriousness of the tennis, Ian, and get into what it is that we love. And that's very cool looking kits, cool fashion, lifestyle, branding. So let's talk about all of the good things. Initially, I really thought, because I wanted to have, you weren't available during the French, didn't really work out. So, I had someone else on doing that. Kaya, hi. It was really, really fun. But I thought at first, I was like, Wimbledon, like what are Ian and I going to talk about? White kits, they all look the same. What could possibly happen? But this Wimbledon, the brands, I think they listened, Ian. I think they listened.
Yeah, I think they are. I think their tennis fashion is very, in vogue right now. It is, people are talking about it, and I do think the brands are. It takes a while to build a good release. These things probably start, at least, months, if not a full year in advance sometimes, between sourcing what products they want to get and designing it and all of that kind of stuff. So you have to take all this with a little bit of a grain of salt, in that, like, we've been kind of harping on these brands for, like, can we get some good fashion in tennis again? And slowly, brand by brand, each one has kind of brought something to the table over the last couple of years. And some of these processes probably started, going back to last year. And we had some real standouts.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start, I think, in my personal opinion, with the winners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go.
Adidas.
Yeah.
However you say it, they won. And I'm calling it now. Like, there's no debate. Maybe debate me if you want, but when I first started seeing the teasers of their little campaign and stuff, I kept being like, wait, is this the Wimbledon kit? Is this lifestyle? Is this, what is this? And it turns out it's the Wimbledon kit. So if you've been watching Wimbledon, or if you haven't, by the way, obviously this is an audio podcast. You can get it wherever you listen to podcasts, but we're also on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube or wanting to see the visuals of what we're looking at, stop here, go to YouTube and watch it. If you're on Spotify, you're already getting the images. So Adidas came to play. They saw Wilson and they're like, no, no, no. We are heritage. We are the originals. We made Stan Smith. Like, come on. What was your first thought on these Adidas looks?
Yeah, we got a lot of the releases started to come out like around this exact same time. So my feed's getting flooded with all the different brands that within a day or two of one another, they just started kind of releasing everything. And like you, I thought this was just going to be released alongside, that this was going to be a lifestyle collection that you could purchase. Always the best stuff never makes it onto the court. They did a collab not maybe 5 or 6 years ago with, I don't know, it's escaping me now, but they have had good releases before when they've decided to put in the effort. Adidas has been one that for me remained at the bottom of the barrel every single year. When you're seeing people stepping it up and the Wilson's coming and, you know, and different brands really starting to focus on it, Adidas was still putting out the worst stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The worst because you had to see it on so many damn players and it wasn't
over
good.
and over again.
Yeah. And this is a knockout. They're using the original Adidas Originals logo. They're using the classic white and Kelly green, which was what they rolled out with the original Stan Smith shoes. The details are phenomenal. Your graphic here is great. You know why? It doesn't include Zverev. Everybody else on the Adidas team here looks, it crushes. It's so good. It is. Yeah. I mean, look at Sony Cartel is like, that is, yeah, it's elite. It's got to be the best.
And so the very first look I saw, obviously, because it was the first match I watched, was Elina Svitolina in the dress. And I thought, just looking at that dress, I was like, oh my God, you know, Adidas is going to win. I don't care what the Wilson dress is. Like, that dress on Svitolina looked awesome. And then I turned on Soné Cartel and I thought, no, oh my God, she's wearing like the shirt. Yeah. Again, look up these images because they're just so great. But the shirt is almost see-through-y, but it's like woven. It's it's so hard to explain the details. It has a collar and then the shorts because she's wearing the shorts version. And I was just taken aback. I was like, wow, this is a look. I thought this is my favorite. And then I saw the romper. I saw the romper on Roos, who was playing with Madison Keys, and we have it in here. And I was like, no, I love the romper.
Yeah.
There's too much to love. There's just so much. I just kept thinking, how can I purchase every piece? Like,
sure.
Here's my credit card.
Well, even better, just if anybody from Adidas hears this and they want to send us something, please.
Please.
Because I want it all. Do. I'm with you. I want it all. And I think what's important is, we talk about when brands really knock it out of the park or when brands, release their collection for a season. And a lot of the times they'll have one look and not every player can pull that off. You see really skinny players wearing things that look oversized on them, or you'll see some players wear, a skirt maybe looks better than shorts or shorts better than a skirt. They offered something for everybody on the Adidas team. And that is so important because that allows the players to pick out what they feel confident and what they look best in. And I think they all knocked out of the park. I think they each player here is wearing something completely different, but it all looks cohesive. It is all very obviously part of the same collection, and you put them all together in a photo shoot together, and it works. Nike I thought had a really, really good Roland Garros, and I didn't get to talk on the pod with you for Roland Garros, but you had everybody wearing these really great outfits, and then you had like the teal, and you're like, what is that doing in the mix, right? Everybody else crushed it, and then you'd have like one player wearing something that didn't look like it was part of the same collection. This is cohesive. Everybody and what they're wearing, they all have different outfits that are unique to them, but it looks fantastic together. So it's a win for me.
Yeah, and the thing about this shoe is funny that we thought this was going to be the lifestyle part of it. There's a whole lifestyle part of it. I saw some footage from their... I guess, I think all these brands, they have houses, kind of doing brand activations and things like that at the beginning of the tournament. So I saw a lot of footage from that. And there are all these like beautiful knit tops. And, I think Mukova was wearing this sort of like, I think it was like a sambas maybe, and then the sort of see-through socks. Like, I don't know what happened, but Adidas, kiss, we love it
Hmm.
all. And if you need our addresses, I'm in New York, Ian's in California, we can send it. Just, mail this stuff to us and we will wear it.
Uh,
Again, really, really crushed it with this one. I think we always just have to talk about Wilson because
mhm.
they've been doing good work for so long. And I really hope that that's what's pushing these brands. Like, I think every Grand Slam for the last like 8 or so, we all just sit and look at Marta Kostyuk in the whatever Wilson dress she's wearing that time. And it's like, oh my God, it's the best. And that's just been the dialogue for so long. Funny enough, and maybe because this actually looks so similar, especially the bottom half to what the Nike dresses look like as well. It's okay. I like
Yeah.
it, but it's just another Wilson dress for me. Like this is not one of the ones where I was just like, oh my God, have to have it.
Yeah, it was hard. It was going to be hard for them to top what they did with Kostyuk last year. Unfortunately, a lot of the players that are Wilson sponsored right now are have struggled to get through. I mean, Kostyuk got eliminated today too. That's another upset.
Yeah.
They have Nico Jari, who got through, but he hasn't been a factor for a little bit there on the men's side. But I believe they have Alicia Parks got eliminated, and then Victoria Mboko, right?
Mboko.
Yeah,
Which actually that reminds me, it's someone that we didn't talk about during like the tennis talk, but
yeah.
just to like give her some love here, came in, she was in qualifying, didn't really make it, came in as a lucky loser. I heard on Tennis Channel that she had only 30 minutes before.
Wow,
That's
wow.
how fast it was. Like she learned 30 minutes before, and then she has to like go to site and like play a tennis. And she won. She beat a seed.
Yep, yep,
She
yeah.
beat another seed.
Was it Freck? Was it?
Freck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like her outfit better than Kostyuk's, and usually, and again, it's very simple. It definitely checks all the boxes. It's got a little bit of detail, but for the first time, usually Kostyuk is kind of leading the charge with Wilson. But I think I'd actually go in reverse here. I think I like what Mboko's wearing better than Kostyuk's here.
Yeah, and what Mboku's wearing, if I don't have a photo of it here, but it's basically a white version of kind of that yellow kit she had
Yeah.
on at Roland Garros, where it's like the half zip top collar thing. It is beautiful. Like it's really gorgeous. Nike, again, I don't know what they're doing with Nike Court. It seems like it's back, but not being called Nike Court or something. But I do enjoy the logos. I do enjoy seeing the old Nike Court logos. What can I say? It's white. It's
Yeah.
Nike. It's not offensive, but I'm not blown away like, oh my goodness, this is like something special. To what I want to actually talk about with Nike, which unfortunately I wasn't able to find a lot of photos of, were the accessories. So
Hmm.
we had Carlos Alcaraz walk on court. I don't know if you saw this with the cardigan.
Oh, I did.
It was trying to give Roger Federer cardigan at Wimbledon vibes, but
Embarrassing to
not
even bring
as.
them up. Embarrassing to even bring them up in the same word. But you're not. Yeah, yeah. So I saw a post about this where they're like, I can't remember what the caption was, but it was like, like Alcaraz owns cardigan, Roger Federer 2000, whatever. And I was like, don't even do that. They're not the same. His looks like it was on a kid's rack. It'll barely fit him. It's got like hole punches in it. I don't know if you saw the details on it, but like
I
it's
did.
got like holes in it, not even like a pattern, just like weird, and it's way too tight on him. Horrible. Doesn't look regal. I mean, Federer looked like a Norse god, like walking out in his, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a Swiss god, whatever, you know what I mean? Like not even, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. And here's the thing about like all of that stuff, which I think we'll get into a little bit here with Nike, is that Roger Federer cardigan, that was Roger Federer's cardigan. The cardigan that Carlos Alcaraz wore, I saw, and I know this might just be, this is feeding into the sort of controversy, or not controversy, but like, the sort of rumor mill. But Emma Raducanu was wearing the same cardigan. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
special for Alcaraz cardigan. It's just
Yeah.
part of their collection, which that's the thing that still stumps me a little bit with Nike, is because they have Alcaraz, they have Sinner, They have Sabalenka. Where are the custom outfits? These are the
It's a,
number 1 and 2
yeah.
stars in the world of tennis.
Yeah, and it's important to note too that the cardigan that Roger wore was when he was sponsored by Nike. So you know that they're capable of
Yes,
carrying, they just choose not to. So
right.
yeah, like I am firing shots here to anybody that works at Nike because whatever's going on there, they're actively choosing to not care and put things
Mhm.
down, on the totem pole of priorities for Nike. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. They just got to put an effort in.
Yeah.
It's just not,
They have to put an
yeah.
effort in. But here's the thing. So we just talked about that. We're telling you, hey, Nike, they don't care. And then they do something like this, which what we have here is a photo of Alex Ayala
Mm-hmm.
and a hair tie. And it is from Nike. Nike created it. In her press conference later on, she said that Nike, it was their idea and they did this for her. But what they did for Alex Ayala is they created this head, like an elastic hairband, but that has the national flower of the Philippines on it. And it was like a personal touch that they gave her to wear during Wimbledon. And along with stuff like this, you see Sabalenka with the Nike shoes that has a tiger on it. You'll see, Sinner with the shoe that has a fox on it. I just feel like these are for a brand like Nike. Again, I really loved this little touch that they did for Alex Ayala, who's this sort of like new, bright player coming through. First, she's breaking so many records because she's just the first person from the Philippines doing all these things. I just don't think it's far enough. Where is Alex Ayala's custom Nike white dress covered with these flowers? You can play in that. I think you could play in that. So I think it's like they do a little bit. It's almost like they do the barest minimum
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
instead of like going all the way with it. And in a time where I feel like tennis fashion and interest in tennis fashion and lifestyle is taking such a rise in just society in general, it just seems like they're leaving so much on the table, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
They I don't really know what the explanation is there. Obviously, Nike is in a lot of different sports, and tennis just doesn't really seem to be a major priority for them. And
Mm-hmm.
they've got some of the biggest stars in the game, and that seems to be all they care about. Or I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Um, Walkout kits.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. It almost started getting teased a little bit at the French Open in terms of like the walkout kit coming back. Like, Coco Gauff had that leather jacket. Nike had those sort of like wrap skirts that they gave the girls. I think Quinn Wen was too shy to wear hers, but like Mira Andreeva wore one on court, and you just like it's a wrap and you take it off and it's this flowy skirt. And I think it started at Roland Garros, and then Wimbledon just said, hold my pims. We're gonna go all in on the walkout kit. And it's such a shame that literally all the players we're about to talk about are out of the tournament. All of them.
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
But here is Adidas again. And I remember I posted this in the morning and it was very, as things like this go, it was very controversial. It was either you loved it or you hated it. But we have Jessica Pegula coming out in this sort of train skirt. And when I
incredible.
say a train, there is a train. She's, it's a long train of a skirt and then a cape top
It's,
over it. Like
it's
it's a
incredible.
whole walkout fit. So incredible. And
Yeah,
then this bag, this custom Adidas bowling bag. It's almost like a bigger version of a bowling bag.
yeah,
And I know she had it. I saw it on a lot of the guys also carrying it. I mean, I love everything about it. I love everything.
yeah,
And I'm so sad that this is it. This is the one time we get to see it.
yeah. It is sad. Yeah, I mean, it looks incredible. I don't know what's controversial about it. If you don't like this, you are probably a really boring person to talk to about tennis. I don't know. Like, it's so interesting just to have walkout kits, to have different flares and personalities happening here. I mean,
Yeah.
what you're looking at here is that you want to marry the heritage and the history of tennis, and nobody is wants to bring back the like flowy dresses that women wore in the early decades of tennis or whatever. Nobody wants tennis, and it's impractical to think that tennis players are going to play in anything like that now. But
Right.
you have this modern take on, this is what I'm walking out into the court on. This is a fashion statement as I walk out into the court, and I've got this bag and everything. And then you take it off and you got your kit, whatever. This is a tip of the hat to that. This is,
Yeah.
it was, women used to wear big, huge dresses on tennis courts, and you're walking out into Wimbledon where there's all this history. It's a absolutely amazing. And if you think otherwise, like, I don't know what to say. Like, what are
Same.
we talking about?
I have no idea what to say because I think it's perfect. And I love what this is. It's bringing back that sort of, like, Serena always used to have this, there was like a walkout moment. There was something she was wearing. And there is an entertainment factor to sports. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's entertainment, it's lifestyle. Yes, they're still playing a sport. It's stressful, it's active. They need to be able to move and stuff. And like you said, nobody's asking Jessica Pegula to play in this. But watching her come out with this, it was so disappointing that then she lost because you're like,
Yeah.
no, you're wearing the winning outfit. You have to
Yeah.
win. And then we had Lorenzo Musetti.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw something about this today. Who is this jacket by again?
So this jacket, here we have a photo of Lorenzo Musetti wearing a Bottega Veneta
Yeah.
intricato weave full leather jacket. I mean, I think it's leather. Because Bottega Veneta, that's their thing. This sort of woven leather design is their trademark. And he did a campaign for Bottega Veneta during Rome, which I had just assumed that meant he was now a brand ambassador. But I guess it actually wasn't until Wimbledon that they officially announced Lorenzo Musetti as the new Bottega Veneta ambassador. And he walks out in this. I mean,
I'm zooming in on the details right now. And yeah, wow. It is so good.
so good. So I mean, this jacket deserved one more match. Just it deserved so much. But yeah, like, again, I love moments like this. And, I think sometimes and in general, my personal opinion, online is not real life. So it's not like I'm taking all of this stuff seriously. But I remember someone commenting on I saw a photo and I was looking through the comments, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, it was so hot. How could he have worn this onto the court? I'm like, excuse me? He's going from inside air conditioning to like 2 seconds he's on the court, he takes it off. Like, can we be for real? But again, I love this. I love that, luxury brands. I think this almost started with, Yannick Sinner signing with Gucci, and then, Carlos Alcaraz is with Louis Vuitton. Now we have Bottega Veneta. Like, they're all coming into it. They're all getting in on tennis in a more sort of lifestyle way, because of course we have the Rolexes. Like, yes, they've been sponsoring tennis forever, but I feel like this is something someone's going to go into a store and buy this jacket.
Yeah, if they can afford it, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's cheaper than a Rolex. I think. I don't know. I actually do not know Bottega's prices. And then finally, I wanted to end with starting. I said Adidas won. And I want to say Adidas won as a full collection. Like, they won as an idea. They won I love what you said, that they created looks for all of their different players. You had options that still felt like a cohesive look. When it comes to a custom look for a tennis player, New Balance has entered the chat, because I don't know what you thought of this look on Coco, but wow. I've been waiting for someone to do this for so long. I have been waiting since Maria Sharapova
Yep.
and Serena Williams. I've been waiting for someone to do a white look at Wimbledon that was fun, interesting, different. And what New Balance did for Coco Gauff was a serve. Like, it's perfect. It's so good.
Yes. And great shout out to Sharapova. That look that she had was, I had to pull it up, 2008, where she had the they're calling it the tuxedo look, which,
Yeah.
but it is very uh, regal, wedding, very formal looking. Coco's is definitely a little bit more floral. It's got the lace patterns and everything. Yeah, yet again, it's another one that we won't get to see anymore this tournament,
No.
but is a complete standout because there isn't anything else like that.
There isn't anything else like it. And this is a sort of thing where, all the other New Balance looks, they don't look anything like Coco's. It's a stand out, personal, custom look for her. They released, which was funny too, I think it was like during the second set of the match, they released a video, like a real video promoting the dress. And I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous video. It's so lovely. We don't get to see the dress anymore, but I
Yeah.
hope this is a start because for the most part, I mean, they've been giving her custom looks definitely, but there's something about this one. And she kind of talked about it a little bit during Roland Garros with the leather jacket because she said, New Balance have always been doing these things for me. I just haven't worn them so much. And she's trying to start experimenting a little bit with the fashion she wears on court, with the leather jacket she wore, with this dress she's wearing here. She's wearing the dress, the bow in the hair, the shoes. Like this is something Naomi Osaka,
Yep. Oh yeah.
would
Yep.
wear.
Yep.
And it's funny because this year Naomi Osaka for Wimbledon kept it very simple.
Yeah.
And I think she's a little bit burnt from a couple of early round losses in those sort of looks. Oh, because it can get. She lost first round of Roland Garros in that sort of gorgeous pink, with the sort of cherry blossoms in her hair and all that stuff. So she's very simple for this for Wimbledon, but this is definitely something Naomi Osaka would do, and I love it on Coco, and I love that they're experimenting in that way.
Yeah, no, I actually went to look up Osaka earlier because you're right. You're used to seeing her kind of coming out with something as loud as this, and having such a specific aesthetic to their personality, and we didn't get that from Osaka, and I don't know like what that's a reflection of, whether I don't know. Yeah, so I'm glad we got it from Coco though. This is a good look that sadly we won't get to see any longer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I mean we've been going for a while now. But hey, I prepped everyone from the beginning. This was going to be a long one. A lot happened in round one. I don't even think we talked about every single thing, but let's start to wrap it up. And round two starts tomorrow. What are we looking forward to in round two? There are definitely a few round two matches that I'm excited for tomorrow. We do a sort of match of the day
Hmm.
situation where we put on our socials like what match we will definitely be watching. For me tomorrow, I definitely want to be watching Ethan Quinn and Kamil Marszak. I apologize if I didn't say that well. He's from Poland, young player. Ethan Quinn is just always someone that, I think he's young, an American player, been grinding through challenger tours. It's so nice to see him like that grind pay off. There's nothing I love more than hard work paying off. And he's done that grind through the challengers, turned pro a couple of years ago. And here he is finally in the top 100. He's into the second round of Wimbledon with big opportunity. Like
Yeah.
his section decimated.
Yeah.
These two players, two young players, one from Poland, one from America, whoever wins this has really a lot of potential to go far in this tournament. And that's why this is definitely a match for me for tomorrow.
So that's your men's match of the day for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good pick. Looking at the draw, he would have had to face Zverev in round 3 if he had made it, but Zverev's not here anymore. So,
No.
yeah, that is a good one. Love Ethan Quinn. Love his story. If I had to pick a match of the day for tomorrow, there's a few on my radar. I think because of how many upsets, you kind of have to talk yourself into a few of these matches and why they could be good.
Yeah.
Fonseca's playing Brooksby. I don't like Brooksby's game at all. Fonseca's amazing and extremely fun to watch. But again, I'm watching a guy that I love and a guy that I don't like to watch. Ori Tiafo could be interesting, but I think this is going to maybe be a little boring. I actually think I'm going to go with Alcaraz and Oliver Tarvet.
Mm.
The reason I'm going to pick that one is we saw Alcaraz get a little shaky. We know that there is the potential for upset there still. I think as the tournament goes on, that's going to be less and less likely. Oliver Tarvet is a wild card qualifying player. He is the number 2 ranked college player in the entire US. He plays for University at San Diego. He's from the UK. He is British, right? So he's going to have the home crowd there. And he's playing in his first ever ATP tour level event, and it's a Grand Slam, and he won his first round, and he came through qualifying. That's kind of cool. And I liked his quote. I heard a quote from him. He was asked about, obviously this is the biggest moment of his very young career, playing the number 2 player in the world, defending champion Alcaraz. He said, I think I'm capable of beating anybody. Hell yeah, dude.
I love players.
Go off. Go
yep.
off. Like, sure, most people are just going to be like, oh, I'm thankful for the opportunity. Yes, this is once in a lifetime. Like, this is great. He says, he didn't say I think I could beat Alcaraz necessarily, or he didn't say he bets himself versus that. He's just projecting confidence. He thinks that he's capable of beating anybody. And if you're a young player, you see this with a lot of the players when they're on their first year on tour. They haven't suffered a loss yet. They haven't suffered, gone through a full year of on tour and had to deal with some, difficulties or setbacks or whatever. This is when they're dangerous. Like, this is when they can put up a performance when you're like, whoa, who is this guy? Where did he come from? He's like ranked, I think coming into it, ranked outside of the top 700. Now he's in the top 600. I don't know. Of course, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think he's going to win, but we're going to watch a player that could be somebody someday, really, and be a factor on tour. So that's the one I got.
He was on our, qualifiers to watch list. So
nice.
Really, really great story. Some other matches just in general in round 2, we obviously have Fritz versus Diallo. I'm just on the Fritz train right now. Let's go. Let's go all the way, Fritz, because we suffered through round 1. I think we should make it as far as possible.
Yeah, don't make us look like idiots. We're all on the train now, Fritz.
We're all on the train. Djokovic, Dan Evans.
Yeah.
I think Dan Evans is having that sort of, this is maybe my last year on tour, I don't know what's happening kind of vibe he's giving. So that could be fun.
Yep.
Raducanu Vondrousova.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
That's great. Baptiste Mboko. Haley Baptiste has been doing so well this European swing, and here she is now. She gets through the first round and she gets this lucky loser who's gotten through the first round, and that could be fun. The one that I think might be out of place for people that I am really, really interested in is Marajan versus Munar.
Okay, and explain.
I want to say, because so Munar plays Alcaraz in Queens and is the one player to push him.
Yeah.
It was really tight in that match. And Munar is someone who, as a Spanish player, he just hasn't been on the scene. But this year, starting in Dallas, he played some phenomenal tennis in Dallas. And I think he got to the quarters or semis, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat and stuff, but he was playing so well and he kind of carried it on. Is he making it deep to every tournament he plays? No, but he does have these brilliant matches and it's almost like he's building and becoming a better and better player. And what does he do today? Take out the sort of dangerous floater in the men's draw in Sasha Bublik. Like, everyone was like, oh my God, Bublik is, he's dangerous now and things. And Munar plays so well and takes him out. And I just think he's underestimated, because I remember posting after that match, Carlos won it in Queens, Munar lost. And I remember posting, I was like, I know Carlos won, guys, but props to Munar because he played excellent. And I got so, they're like, no, Carlos was just on one of his journeys and he wasn't focused and all of this stuff. And I was like, no, that's really underestimating how good Munar is. So Jean-Marie Munar is not the likely player that I think people are like, oh, I'm going to be watching that guy, but you should be watching that guy because I think he can do some things. Just putting it out there. I might be completely wrong.
Maybe, I mean, we'll see. If he ends up making it through that round, he'll play the winner of Draper Cilic, which is kind of an interesting match because Cilic, another big server, tough on grass, definitely on the back end of his career. I think Draper handles that one, but he'll play the winner. Munar would have to play the winner of that, which I definitely think I'm kind of behind Draper to make it pretty far in this tournament. I think he is going to kind of rise up to the pressure of playing in front of the home crowd with the way that he's been playing.
Yeah, he's had a very sort of lockdown moment, and I wish I had planned ahead to find this photo, but I was talking to some British podcasters. Shout out to Blackspin Global, Lucy and Eugene. Hi. But I have been so fascinated with why Draper is not like One Direction in the UK right now.
Oh, like the biggest thing ever.
Just not the biggest thing ever, which for me is so weird. He is, I'm sorry, objectively an attractive person, tall, looks like an athlete, built like an athlete. He should be he is already on the cover of fashion magazines, but I just feel like he should be so much of a bigger star. And I was talking to him, I was like, am I missing something? Like, why is he not being followed by paparazzi everywhere? And then I don't know if you saw it, but recently there's a photo that came out of Jack Draper at a gas station filling up his car. And if that is that not the most these early 2000s paparazzi photo you ever see? It just gave me flashbacks of like Britney Spears and, Paris Hilton pumping gas at some station somewhere. And I thought, maybe it's catching on. Maybe he will be like the biggest star ever.
He's wearing the cutoff sleeve Jordan t-shirt, or not t-shirt, cutoff sleeve, like all white, like Jordan. And he's wearing, like chunky Nike shoes and like baggy track pants. Yeah, I will say it. I think he's maybe the most attractive guy on the tour. I'm putting him and Tommy Paul, and if you had a hottie bracket, the way that the Nothing Major podcast did, I'm putting Tommy Paul and I'm putting Draper in the finals against each other. And I had to pull this up, and I'm going to fire another shot here. Nothing Major podcast voters voted Casper Ruud over Jack Draper. And I said, in what world are you all living in? Like, what? I think he's the best looking tennis player on the men's tour, personally. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think he's getting bigger, and obviously his success lately is attributing to that. But I think he's the most attractive tennis player on the men's tour.
Fight us on it. Fight in the comments. Let us know how we're wrong, but we're right. Just saying. Ian, we've gone an hour and a half here, and it's just been the best. Thank you for coming on. Wimbledon round one, it's one of those things where it's chaotic. It's like, where are all these seeds going? But a lot of times this is the fun. This is the fun in tennis. Like, sure, would we have loved all the seeds to go through? Yes, there's some of those outfits that I want to have seen in like another round or two. But at the same time, this gave us something to talk about, and it was really fun.
Yeah, no, I've had a blast as always. I think, round two, round three, we're going to have to find like, what's the player that's going to make a name for themselves, right? You've got a lot of people that might not have expected to be, even through round one, and they're going to have a section of the bracket maybe that's going to open up for them or is opened up, and they might have a life-changing opportunity. We had Boisson in the French Open. That was the story of the tournament for a while there. This is somebody who had an opportunity to make quadruple the amount of money that they've made over their entire career in the course of 1 week. And somebody's going to have that story. Some player on the men's and women's side, or maybe even multiple, are going to advance for a few rounds, and it's going to become a story, and that's going to be fun to talk about. So we definitely have something to look forward to still.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you are listening to this on a podcast player of your choice, leave us a 5-star rating, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Is Jack Draper the most attractive man on the men's tour? Yes, that's the answer. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Again, yes is the answer to that question. Thank you, Ian. Thank you everyone for listening. And we will see you at the end of round two. What could happen?
Let's go.
Bye, guys.
Hello, Grand Passes. Hello, Anastasia. Coming to you from a lovely hotel in London, and come home from a fun day at Wimbledon. Never fails to deliver on a regular basis. Those of you who've been following me on X will have seen sort of the matches that I did, but my mum and I had caught 2 tickets today. That was a lot of fun. That was so we got to see some upsets. We saw Jessica Pegula and Lorenzo Musetti lose. yeah, Pegula looked off. Musetti was kind of a bit shocked by how big Basilashvili was playing. And then I got to see Iga Swiatek, who I was super excited by if you saw my watch list. Big opportunity to see her up close. Like I saw her in the centre last year, but that was a bit higher up this time. Oh my word, seeing Iga play in person is very different because you can, when her shots fly through the court, you can feel them even more than on a television screen. And Iga's becoming a serve bot, guys. Like that serve is huge now, and pretty much was the key to her winning the match. Wasn't getting into many rallies at all. Then we watched a couple of games of Ben Shelton, but we didn't fancy watching a serve match. But it was really cool seeing Ben live for a bit, and he kept things on track and on brand. And he and Iga are the only ones who've kind of survived pretty easily in terms of being seeds on court two. The rest either went out or had to fight back over the last couple of days in round one. So yeah, went to walked around the grounds, got to see Victoria Mboko play, Sophia Kenin against Taylor Townsend as well. We checked out Marin Cilic's match. It was vintage Cilic. I'm very excited to see how he does against Jack Draper. And then watched, well, Daniel Stremska knock out Coco Gauff on the hill, which was, well, we called it, didn't we, Anastasia? Like upset alert, like big first round match there. And now the Wimbledon's bottom half is wide open with the top seeds remaining being Mira Andreeva and Iga Swiatek, and they're the 7th and 8th seeds. So really exciting day. Very, very hot. I think it's the hottest day on Wimbledon on record. There was a lot of sunscreen applied. I learned from Ilkley, guys. And I also learned, kept a hat on, things like that. So looked after myself. You will be pleased to hear. So yeah, in terms of, just want to share kind of my thoughts on round one. I think Anastasia shared hers, but yeah, it's crazy how many seats have gone out. Grass is really grassing at the moment, and a lot of chaos. Maybe not many epics in round one, unless you count what was actually quite a brilliant match between Fritz and GMP on number one court. Glad Fritz got the job done. For Fritz anyway, he's now by far and away the favourite to make the semi-finals from his section. Zverev going out was a big deal. Medvedev's going out was a big deal. That was the other epics that happened. And looking forward to see how the rest of the tournament progresses. Second round matches. In terms of second round matches, I'm most excited about. I'm going to throw two women's and two men's at you. Most of them involve Brits. Emma Raducanu against Marketa Vondrousova tomorrow is going to be, I think, a really big match. It's going to be the match of the day, especially on the women's side. Although I do also think that Norrie against Tiafoe on court one might be a bit of an epic as well. I could see that being a real battle for both players, particularly Tiafoe with the crowd, but he does like to win them over with his absolutely wonderful shot making. And then on the next day, I'm also looking forward to seeing how Jack Draper does against Marin Cilic. That's a big match, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Curious to see how Emma Navarro does against Veronika Kudermetova. I think that could be the women's match to watch, especially since Kudermetova tends to decide who wins Wimbledon. Bit of a weird track record the last couple of years there. And one more match I'll actually throw in is a match that's happening pretty early on tomorrow, is Olga Lilovic against Madison Keys. And I would say Madison Keys might be on upset alert again. Had a tough one with Roos on Monday, and I think Lilovic will also make it tough for her. So if she wants this Wimbledon title, she's really going to have to fight for it. Hope you and Ian have a great time recording, and I'll see you back on Grounds Pass in a couple of days.